your launch title on the Xbox One. We need you out right now, so we can't make the gameplay better. Which, by the way, I will guarantee you on pretty much most of those launch titles you've seen, which is why you're seeing mediocre reviews for it. It's because they've been okay. We gotta have it for the launch day. So, and the cool thing with our process is you guys see it all along the way, and you get to play it. So even if we don't give you the full dogfighting before Christmas, we're gonna give you some stuff to play around with. So. Dan's got something pretty cool that we think will be kind of fun that you guys will think. I can't really. Can we show it maybe later?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we'll show you later in the cast something that we're thinking of having fun with in the hangar, and you guys can use. But yeah, so we've got a bunch of stuff, and we're going to share along the way. So it's not like we just go off and you don't see anything. But yeah, thank you for all your support out there.
Kazieski would like to know if we have any consultants we're working with on Squadron 42 to get dialogue, military stuff correct.
I don't know. Dave, you want to answer that one?
Not yet. I mean, I think the plan is probably to bring some, maybe people come on to consult to make sure that the military, but I think I should, Kazieski asked me, somebody asked the dev. But yeah, I mean, I feel like there's, I don't know, to me there's always like there's a sweet spot of dramatically fun yet technically accurate that you have to hit, and it doesn't look too rigid, and so I feel like it'll be a process to figure out exactly where that sweet spot, so it feels like a legitimate military acting, and then but it's not too cold and technical.
And we have a vast amount of our backers that are that not just US, but like all around the world, UK, Australian, German, you name it, all around from every military around the world. So I think we got plenty of. I
got a PM a couple months ago from a guy who, because I put a thing out saying I was looking for books on submarine tactics, and so I got contacted by a guy who works on submarines.
Right, cool.
The pilot who's on the 24-hour live stream sent us a very nice, very large booklet on
all the HUD stuff. Yeah, which is actually really useful, right? So yeah, we got a massive research from I think maybe it was Dane, I believe was it, yeah. So thank you, Dane. That was really cool.
Thanks one up, man.
Oh, it sounds like there are actually still some images available. People are trying to get some. They're still selling. Rush to get the Idris if you want one right now. Let's see. Some folks are wondering about actors in Squadron 42. Have we talked to anybody yet?
Wait for the Squadron 42 section, which is coming up here, so we can answer it during the Squadron 42 section.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about Squadron 42 a little bit later, guys. If you want to know some of those questions. Can't just went crazy because of the Idrises. I'm gonna take a moment to catch up. One person is wondering about earning UEC during the dogfighting. Is that something we're talking about?
Yeah, no. So I mean, a part of our plan with the dogfighting is to we're going to allow you to fight and sort of earn, I guess, test credits would be the way to do it, and you can buy different things with the test credits, and we're going to also allow you to have so many test credits to try stuff out, and the issue, test credits they'll go away when the proper game gets there, but it'll allow people to sort of play and try different stuff and do that during the dogfight. So we haven't figured out the full mechanics, but the kind of idea is that like if you get into matches and you win, you would earn some sort of test UEC. And maybe you'd also just earn some test UEC by actually participating in the dogfighting. Because really, I mean, the whole point of doing the dogfighting section is to, do a whole bunch of stuff, which is, balance the ships, see what works, what isn't working, figure out how the back-end server load is, which is actually kind of like our biggest concern, which is one of the reasons why, like I was mentioning earlier, that I was thinking about taking a bit longer on it, because our biggest thing is how to make the experience for everyone around the world work really well. So we're now at a level, we announced that we're going to invest more money into infrastructure, so even in the dogfighting alpha, we're going to spin up servers around in Europe, in the US, and say Australasia or somewhere, and that was something that we weren't originally going to do. I mean, yeah, when we're testing, that's obviously expense because you don't have the game live and all the rest of the stuff. But because we've had such great support, we can do that now. But of course, we've got to make sure that we have the system that deploys, that spins up the servers automatically. We're looking at Google Compute. I mean, if I had maybe you know, we have the Austin section later on. So if Jason is in that one, Ben, that would be good. We could probably talk about some of these sort of back-end MMO style stuff. So our goal is to sort of try and make that experience really good rather than have it sort of not so good in the alpha, almost like we're using the alpha to test the load balancing and the stuff for all the multiplayer stuff. So yeah, that's, you know, thanks that we've got enough resources from you guys to be able to do that. But it's I think going to make a better game. Am I getting the signal of 5 minutes or something? Okay.
What's happening in 5 minutes?
Wondering if you'd be able to upgrade ships during the dogfighting module beyond just swapping weapons around. Will we see different ship systems upgradable?
Yeah,
That's also part of the goal. I mean, again, that's another one of the asset issues. So our goal with the dogfighting is we're going to deliver sort of the core base, and then we're going to constantly be adding extra things like, okay, here's some new avionics packages, here's some new weapons packages. Okay, now you have 2 different batteries you could get instead of 1, or here's an extra, you know, here's the overclocker cooler version that like keeps your heat down, because, you know, balancing like your sort of heat and energy in your ship is actually going to be a bit of a mini game, because everything generates heat, most stuff pull energy, and so, you know, I think not too long ago I think we had our settings slightly off, and you fired the Gatling gun, and like it was done, right? Your energy was drained.
Yeah, all your battery power was gone.
Battery power is gone. So yeah, there'll be a lot of that. And so the point is, as we go through the test, we're going to sort of release more and more of these components, because in the actual final game, these are things that you would buy, or as you would go around from planet to planet, and you basically, the idea is you get to customize or set up your ship for your particular play style. So that will, and that's part of the dogfighting test, is to see how all that works, balance it, and, you know, even, you know, we're going to do some of our playing here, but obviously when there's, you know, a couple 100,000 of you out there playing it, that's you know, I mean, that's the best play test and feedback and focus group you can ever get.
People ask about new T-shirts. New T-shirts in the work. I guess that's especially for Sandy.
Yeah, I think
we have Sandy coming up here a little later on today, don't we?
Hoodies. They're hoodie samples.
Has Drake on the front, right?
Yeah, it's a Drake. They just came in yesterday, so I still have to check the quality on them and everything. Wash them, wear them, do all of that stuff. Try them on all the guys.
I used that one as a blanket.
Oh, thank you, Travis.
So definitely wash them.
But yes, new T-shirt designs. We'll get onto that. I mean, it's cold for most of the world right now. So.
All right, chat roll just went crazy again. I guess they're excited about hoodies. Let's see. Wondering how player-to-player communications are going to work in flight.
Well, I think that would be another good one to have Jason here. I mean, we've got a fair note. I should have had Jason on your side. I think we're going to be doing a combination. We'll definitely have sort of a chat channel IM stuff you'll be able to do, and it will tie into the organization stuff that we're rolling out. I believe that we're rolling out an early test at the very end of this year, and for everybody at the beginning in the new year.
Yes,
and
please.
it will be tied, so you'll have all your different channels tied into that. We'll probably have some level of voice, I think. Maybe that will be just tied into your organization, so you don't have to necessarily, or you can mute other people, so you don't have to have people say all sorts of obnoxious stuff to you. There we are. Look, you have Jason here. Hey, we had a question, Jason.
Jason, about in-game chat. So I was saying that we were going to have your general IM chat channels to be tied to the organizations.
We have voice over IP. Not quite sure how we're gonna. Maybe that's only tied to your friends. Maybe you can have it wide, but then you can turn it off if you don't want to listen to someone being obnoxious. What other kind of communication stuff are we talking about?
We're also talking about having
basically using an XMPP-based backend, which is a chat technology used like Jabber, and even Google uses it for some of the Google Talk stuff. So you could have the chat work on the website and in-game, and even maybe on a separate client outside of the game using your game account, of course.
Cool. So you can even be in chat playing the game, and someone else isn't on the game but in the website and into your organization. You see your chat chatting back.
Yeah. Or maybe they're on their mobile phone, and you're in the organization chat, and you say, "We're about to have a big battle. If you could get on and help, come on now." And somebody might see it on their phone and say, "Okay, I'm on my way. I'll be there in 15 minutes."
We have our mission of destroying everyone's productivity at work.
Yeah.
Well, while we have Jason here, we've had a lot of questions about folks wondering how Oculus Rift, Track IR, HUD-S, etc. support is going. Want to talk about some of the stuff you've been looking at?
We haven't had a chance to start the Track IR support yet, but we do have some devices here already at both offices to try out and test. The Oculus Rift support we have working. We've tested out in the hangar. Now with our we've unified the first-person cameras recently, so that now when you're like in a vehicle seat, you can look around with the Rift as you're still in the seat. You get still pilot, control the ship separately from your looking. There are still some issues with the aspect ratio and latency, specifically like when you turn your head, how fast that the input from the sensors read your head movement. It goes to the computer, the game engine, and then it's rendered in the frame, gets to the display on the Rift. We still have some issues where probably in the engine, there's a latency there, so that you can kind of see a delay if you turn your head real quickly, which I think will probably be important in like dogfights and space battles. So we got an Oculus latency tester that we haven't had a chance to use it yet to measure that and work on it.
Yeah, and by the way, that was actually one thing Jason mentioned, the unified first-person look, which we didn't mention in Dogfight, but that online is actually going to be pretty cool because it's slightly different than the way CryEngine works, but it allows you to sort of have a unified look between outside and inside. And also, we sort of have a pretty cool system that we haven't shown off yet, that hopefully I can show off in the near future, that will allow sort of dynamic focus for your sort of view and avatar as you're moving around, and also like the impact of like G-forces and impacts on your ship. So like as you're flying around and you get hit, I mean, so if you ever see anyone's like you see people do a point of view and an artist does a cool one and you get jolted around as you're flying around, well, the system that we're building procedurally will handle that. So like if there's an explosion near your ship and there's an impulse on your ship, you'll go there and like you'll actually get jolted around and your character will have that reaction in the seat, and you'll sort of see it in the movement, and hopefully it will make the feeling in the cockpit much more immersive rather than the typical one, which tends to be pretty like fixed and you're rigid, versus your in real life you would be like a separate body kind of attached to the ship you're in, but if there was forces you would have some level of independent movement. So we're trying to simulate that, and the system's going to be pretty cool. So we haven't shown that off yet, but I think people will really dig that. We good? Does this mean it's 12?
There were requests to read the $32 million letter saying you didn't post it.
Well, I'm in here, right? Thank you, everybody. You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
We can't write letters fast enough. We like seriously consider maybe we should just stop raising money for a day so we can catch up. No, it's pretty awesome. I mean, like I said, I mean the money that we're raising basically is just ensuring that this is going to be the best damn space sim ever, because we already have more funds today than any other space sim has ever had in the history of space sims. And obviously, we're going to get new people coming in over the next year or so. So, we're getting into the range where, we were competing with big AAA projects just because we're super lean and we don't have any big corporate overhead and all the other things that a bigger company has. But now we're getting into the range where we're like kind of at the sort of budget range where we can really like it doesn't matter. I mean, we can compete with anyone. And because we've got you guys, and this is an ongoing process, and we're going to be rolling out over time, I just, but yeah, sure, there's going to be a few times where, something doesn't work, but this isn't like putting on a disc and that's it. It's like we're constantly fixing and patching it, and we just want to make the best game ever. Everyone here, working here, basically is doing this because they love this genre and they love what they're doing. And so we're gonna get there, and we have the support and the resources now to do it. So I'm pretty confident this is going to be something epic. Maybe not every single second of the day, but by the time we get there and you sit back and say, okay, that's it. That's kind of like the base level of what Star Citizen is going to be. I'm hoping it's going to be something that everybody here, myself, and all you guys out there being part of it will be proud of being part of, because I think it's something completely unique and completely special in the industry, and I'm just always blown away by the enthusiasm and the support. And I guess couldn't have really done this sooner, but it's the most fun I've had ever making a game, and it's really invigorating to have everyone's support out there for it. So anyway, that's my rambling letter for you. And I guess now we have the video, right? That I'm probably late on. We're late on running. Yep. Rolling.
Control, do you read me? Commander Roberts, Station Command, Boundary 42, come in.
The thing that excites me most about Squadron 42 is the chance to create a cinematic and immersive playing experience that hasn't been seen before.
A brand new game right from the start.
There's a lot of people out there, chomping at the bit, and it's going to be a huge game.
It's really a chance with the technology going PC only to really deliver something spectacular.
When Chris came to me originally, he said that the universe of video games and the technology and software had caught up with his desire to make character-driven games.
There's a subtlety of movies, there's an emotion that you try to get across in moments and characters that I think I didn't appreciate until I was really sort of immersing myself in making films. And so I really want to try and bring a lot of that back into specifically Squadron 42.
Sort of my first task when I came on board was, all the kind of basic framework for what would go on to become the sort of beginning of the lore.
The first big challenge has been nailing the big story outline.
To create a strong framework for the story for Squadron 42 that's going to drive the game along, and also working with all the various offices that are around the world.
We have to write character work and relationships for people over whom we have no control at all, which is a fascinating challenge.
It's tough because you need to have a story that can shift and change based on how the player plays it.
So I think that in previous incarnations of games, a lot of the branches had to do with whether you won or lost a battle. Now they have to do with how you treat a wingman, or what kind of moral decision you make in a particular situation.
The great thing about being able to sit in a room with the guys from Manchester and Chris and talk about the stories, we get to lock it down. We get to kind of look at this and go, all right, here's what we're working with. Let's build off that.
It's a good progress this week. I think we've pretty much nailed it now.
Yeah, now we know, what the scope of the game is. We'll be pulling a lot of people, I think, to make it happen. I've known Chris and Aaron since we were little kids, sort of 4 or 5. We pretty much started school together, stealing Chris's early attempts to try and pass my exams.
I've known Chris and Aaron since the age of 4.
Worked on his first games.
Just a tight-knit group of friends, and it's just going to be so much fun.
Working with my buddies again.
I knew Chris in a different life when he ran Ascendant Pictures, which was his film company, and I was his president of production.
The first game I worked on was Striker's Run, which was one of Chris's back in '85.
Games such as Privateer 2 The Darkening,
Privateer 2,
Star Lancer.
Then it was Star Lancer. Then I had a fun 3 years on Mace Griffin Bounty Hunter.
I'm working for Warner Brothers on Lego, on various Lego titles, Lego Star Wars.
And with with Chris's company, we did Outlander, and we did Lucky Number 11, and we did Lord of War. And when this came together, he asked me to join the Squadron 42 team as a consultant to help lock a story down, because he wants a more cinematic, more character-driven story than is common in games.
It's not something you do very often, and starting a new company up as well to do the game.
Got the call from Nick saying it's a go. Then I spoke to Aaron and he said, "What do you think?" I was like, "I'm in."
It was a weekend that Aaron rang me, and I had the family round, so I had to kind of drop a Sunday dinner to take the call.
And it was only when they were driving back to the airport, they happened to mention the idea of us doing the game.
Time for a new challenge. Yeah, it doesn't come any bigger than this, does it?
An opportunity we just couldn't turn down.
I'm actually really excited to be working very closely with the community to basically make something for the people who will be playing the game, rather than just developing something and then putting something out there under the sort of constraints of working for a publisher. In terms of the way we're doing it now, we get to basically, work directly with people. We spend a lot of time on the forums, understanding what people want and what they feel, and basically where they want to go. And obviously we have a very clear direction we want to take it, but also it's great to also get that feedback from other people as well.
Something that can be extra special given the sort of support from the community.
We are making a game for the people.
I think that this company has completely reinvented the model of how to make media, frankly. I think that it's important to see opportunity, that the world is there to be reinvented.
We're working very hard to make sure that the story and the immersion and what we bring on Squadron 42 is going to really create a fantastic introduction to Star Citizen.
So I'm really kind of looking forward to advancing that level of sort of cinematic engagement that I did with Wing Commander with Squadron 42. And so, as far as I'm concerned, Squadron 42 is going to be what I would be making a next-gen Wing Commander of, all by itself. So it should be, just by itself, as good as any $60 retail AAA console game. And then you're going to have all the Star Citizen universe on top of it. So I won't be satisfied with anything short of that.
Because it's so important that this Squadron 42 will lead the players into the persistent universe, and we want to make sure that that first glimpse of the universe absolutely blows people away.
Are we going to that camera?
Travis, are you checking the chat roll?
Are we talking stage right or camera right?
Travis, are you checking the chat roll?
We're going to this one.
Twitch chat roll? No, are you?
That's not camera right, is it?
Yeah, I'm watching.
Yeah.
Camera's going this way. No, that's stage. Right. The camera is always reversed so that people can go, you go to the right or left, the camera pointing you. So that would be stage right. Right. Or whatever you want to say.
Well,
just to let you know, Trav.
I'm just kind of answering him.
They're all reminding me of your life.
Okay.
We are
As we discussed
Sorry.
the virtues of
Yeah, I
theater
was giving a
stage right versus camera right.
Stage right versus camera right, which is
Very good.
if you yes exactly. If you've ever done film or TV,
Dave Haddock knows that. He's
they're
just
settled.
having a brain fart.
No, it wasn't. Well, it wasn't really so much Dave. It was, Travis. Okay, so that was the Squadron 42 video, which we did show on Friday. We were actually planning to debut it today, but you guys went and hit the 29 million thing on Friday, and we thought it would be appropriate because of one of the milestones for Squadron 42. But now's an opportunity to ask Dave and I some Squadron. You can't, or you cannot see me. What's my Travis? Can you see me or not? What's happening?
Well, I don't know. Somebody's stage left got confused.
No, I mean you're perfectly.
I'm in the shot. I'm not in the shot.
You are now, but it looks very weird.
Why?
It looks like you're leaning into Dave.
Looks like I'm leaning into
Well,
Dave. How
that's
about
what the
that?
shot looks like.
Yeah.
Here, move this.
Yeah, frame it better then. Oh, now we're delayed. Hang on, let's see.
Hey,
okay,
whoa. Look at that.
Okay, so so now's an opportunity for people to ask questions about Squadron 42, which we can't give you too many plot spoilers, but we're pretty excited by it actually.
Oh my God,
So
I just realized Dave's T-shirt.
yeah, Kid Crimson.
Representing.
Yeah, it's a bootleg T-shirt there, Sandy. You may want to have words with him about
Right.
it.
Yeah, Dave, where's your license?
Right.
Yeah. So Ben, any? Do you want to hit us?
Yeah, let's guys, let's have some Squadron 42 questions. The one we're hearing over and over right now is actors. Do we have any voice actors lined up? Do we have any voice actors?
So we.
The process usually involves finishing the script and then going to the actors. So, I've had some informal discussions with some people, but until we have a final script, which we're in the process of writing, we won't have any. And then I'm not sure when we'll announce them. We'll probably announce who the people are next year. But it's going to be, we have the resources to do some pretty cool stuff. And one of the fun things, because we're doing sort of performance capture and we can control what days we have people on, we can actually have some really great actors, and it's eminently affordable for us. So yeah, there's going to be some really good people, and there'll be some people that people will be happy with. But no, I can't announce anything right now.
We have people asking how long of a game is Squadron 42 going to be? Apparently, there's a rumor going around that it's just going to be the tutorial for Star Citizen. Set that rumor to rest right now.
Well, I mean, in some ways, yeah. I mean, if you want to think a 15-hour experience is your tutorial for Star Citizen, sure. I mean, it's a great way to get into the universe. It's a great way to do dogfighting and learn the stuff and learn a lot of stuff in the systems. But it's not, like tutorial would be the wrong way to describe it. It's going to be, the campaign itself is going to be as big as any of the Wing Commander ones, even the biggest one, and it's probably going to be a little bigger. I mean, we're doing a lot of stuff that's very different. I mean, right now, like, how many missions are we at, I think?
50, at least 50. There's maybe more, 70.
Yeah, so there you go. Between 50 and 70, and they're not, and a lot of the missions aren't simple like, say, a Wing Commander mission. They're multi-stage, so you can take off, do something, land, do something, take off again, do something. So they are things that in a past Wing Commander would have been broken into multiple missions. So yeah, it's a big story. I mean, this would be a $200 million big ass Hollywood film.
Yeah, and I think the tutorial sort of insinuates that it's just, this is how you fly. This is a narrative experience, and it's a lot of cool personalities you get to interact with, some huge epic set pieces you get to be a part of, and yeah, it's its own experience.
Yeah, and in fact, we've sort of made a conscious decision that, because it's a big thing that a lot of Foundry 42, my brother and Phil and Nick and those guys, that even though it teaches you, we're not like doing one of those typical, okay, go to the firing range, all right, fly around and shoot a drone.
Right.
So you basically learn in the story, you learn in the action.
But still organically.
Totally organically, right? So yeah, it leads you through how to use and fly the stuff, but not in a boring way. Right. So like as narrative is unfolding, which I think is going to be pretty cool.
Net would like to know if there are going to be first-person shooter missions in Squadron 42, or if it's all going to be space combat.
No, there's definitely going to be on-the-ground first-person stuff. There'll be boarding aspects. I think there's definitely going to be some on-the-ground stuff as well as the flight stuff. I mean, that's the beauty of what we're building, because we have the ability to go beyond the cockpit. We can sort of have a lot more variety. So it can really be like a big Hollywood action movie, other than with a lot of flying around and shooting stuff up in space.
Right.
Question this is for Dave. Are we going to see Kid Crimson in Squadron 42?
I doubt it. I feel like
a very negative experience for Kid Crimson to be hanging around military people.
Behind enemy lines.
Yeah, it'll be a pretty short-lived cameo. No, I think we're kind of saving Kid Crimson for more of the persistent universes. Actually, I think there's a discussion going on in my Ask a Dev thread about Tanya Oriel and Kid Crimson specifically in the persistent universe, and will players kill them? So yeah, I think they're more relegated for the persistent universe rather than Squadron 42.
Yeah, and they'll be in the persistent universe, and we're thinking about doing some other stuff where maybe Kid Crimson and Tony Oriel and a few other characters get their own sort of narrative and stories, but that's separate from Squadron 42.
And in reverse, they're wondering if we're going to see characters from Squadron 42 transition over to the persistent universe, Star Citizen.
Well,
actually some, but it's a pretty epic campaign, right? So not necessarily everyone's making it home.
That's true. Yeah, but yeah, we're discussing kind of ways for it to, I guess the sort of bigger question there is like the crossover from the single player into the persistent universe, and we're discussing some options of ways for your experience in Squadron 42 to affect your life in the persistent universe.
So like if you have a wingman and you guys get, strike up a relationship, and even if that wingman dies, but he says, look up my family on this planet because I'll give you a deal on.
Right.
They
my
make the
cousin
best.
owns a ship repair shop, best in the universe, so it'll give you a discount.
And you take that and you would get a bonus if you develop that relationship in Squadron 42, that if you hadn't, you just wouldn't get necessarily the same bonus. Not that you wouldn't get the thing, but you wouldn't get necessarily the same bonus.
Folks wondering if they will be able to keep a ship at the end of Squadron 42.
Not particularly. I mean, the idea is the end of Squadron 42, you muster out, and then the ships that you have now, your starting ship is kind of what your ship is. I mean, you're in the military. I mean, like if you retire from the Air Force, they don't say, okay, take your F-16 with you.
You drive a tank.
Yeah, take the tank home.
Go on, buddy.
Park it in your stuff. So no. I mean, basically, it's your reputation. You're going to take the friendships that you would make. Some of that would pay off, but your starting base in Star Citizen is really sort of kind of like your starting ship, whether it's the Aurora or
your citizenship
and your citizenship. So you'll if you play Squadron 42, you'll have a different social standing than maybe if you didn't complete it.
Right.
Sounds good. Yeah, a lot of questions about what will carry over at the end. And one user wonders if we will get paid more if we muster out with higher rank. Well, I guess a larger retirement benefit or what?
Well, I think the way we've structured it is that you sort of have to go through the campaign. You can muster out early, or you go through the campaign. So you're not, there's a certain point in the story where you just can't basically
can't quit.
You can't quit, right? You can't go AWOL. So pretty much if you get to the end, you'll everyone will be sort of comparatively at the same sort of level, more or less. So I'm not sure that would count as much in terms of sort of your ending bonus. I mean, we may have some level of bonus if you complete the story, then you may have some extra starting credits versus someone that just opts out of flight school and wants to just go to the Star Citizen universe.
Right.
But we haven't actually made a decision on that, but that would be one of the potential things.
All right. Let's see. What about Squadron 42 players that don't want citizenship? Will you be able to opt out of that if you're planning to become a pirate?
Sure. I mean, yeah. There's no issues. I think on that level. I mean, I don't know whether we would have the thing where you would have to show up to claim your citizenship. So if you just don't show up, you don't get it.
Or there's like a form you got to fill out as you muster out or something.
Yeah. So that won't be an issue to handle. So
don't worry, pirates.
What's your question
about? That's a great way to reject the UEE, become a citizen, and then become a pirate.
Yeah.
People are wondering about the dialogue system. Is it going to be like Mass Effect? How are we going to interact with characters?
So it's not going to be like Mass Effect in terms of a wheel selection. We're really trying to do something that's as immersive as possible. So, I think I've talked about this before, but it's based on kind of like interaction, first-person interaction, catching someone's eye, sort of like you would in real life. Like in real life, if you look at someone, they look like they've just looked at me, and that's like, hey, you want to say something, right?
Right.
So that's how you engage people. So we're going to have a system where previous actions and also your demeanor and whether you're looking someone in the eye or not, or paying attention to them, will affect how they're responding to you. And then you sort of have the option where you basically, maybe kind of a little similar to Wing 3 and Wing 4, where you sort of can hear your inner thoughts, like, hey, Dave looks like a good guy, maybe I'll shoot the shit with him, or I can't be arsed talking to Dave because he's boring. I wouldn't actually say those two things, but that's my inner thought. And then based on what I would choose, based on hearing sort of my thought in my head, I would have a response to him, and then my response would affect how he would, and it would sort of go from there. So it would be a combination of sort of, mostly binary choices interspersed with sort of eye contact and body mannerisms that will affect your relationship with the person you're talking to.
Well, and one of the things you had said early on was, as a divergence from the Mass Effect system, was conversations are dynamic, and they start and they finish. They don't have the sort of thing in Mass Effect where you can kind of go back and re-click every option, and because that doesn't really feel like you're interacting, you're just sort of checking boxes. So we're actively trying to kind of stay away from that. So it feels like, if you insult somebody, you don't get to go back. It doesn't reset and let you ask them a different question. They get annoyed and they walk away from you, type of thing. So they're more. It gives you more consequences to how you handle your conversations rather than just, I'm going to see every single possible iteration of what this person has.
No, I agree. I mean, that's my problem with Mass Effect, is that it took me out of the game because I would literally do every question to make sure I didn't miss something.
Right.
And half the stuff really didn't mean anything to the game anyway. So no, this is more, I would say, like you're going down a river and like the rapids go left or right or left or right, and you've got to make that choice and you can't go back up it. But there'll always be opportunities later on to maybe get a relationship back to a better place than it was before. But it should be like real life. I mean, if you just call someone a dick to their face, you got to do a bit of work to come back from that.
Right.
Who's wondering if we'll be introduced to all the systems in Squadron 42, salvage, repair, combat, the stuff we're going to see in the universe.
Yeah, I mean that's part of our goal, right? Our goal
sort of take you through Squadron 42 and learn how to use your ship systems, learn how to patch yourself up after a battle. I mean, there's that's kind of one of that's why maybe people think, oh, it's a tutorial. It's not really a tutorial, but you will go through most of the game systems in the story setting, which will hopefully prepare you for the persistent universe.
All right. These are wondering how the orchestral session is going, and we're actually going to have some more on that a little bit later.
Yeah, that's a good lead-in. Well, I mean, not just yet, but
in 5 minutes we're going to play a new video, so you'll be happy with that. And then I think we're going to have Martin around to answer some questions. I don't know whether we'll have Pedro too, because he's in Portugal. Is we having Pedro too? Great, brilliant. So we're going to have both Martin and Pedro, who is our composer, to answer questions very shortly in about 5 minutes. So 5 more minutes of Squadron 42 questions. Make Dave feel loved.
With the co-op campaign going, what will we be able to do there, basically?
I mean, so the concept of the co-op campaign is that you basically can drop in and take over some of the wingmen when you're in the battles. So essentially, flying the missions, instead of it being wingman X, it can be Dave. Me and Dave flying the mission together.
I was kind of equated to those scenes in the Matrix where the Agent Smith teleports into the person's body, sort of like that type of thing. Like the NPCs are established, but it's just your friend is playing as them.
And not necessarily on the conversation side, right? On the ship, it's more in the action part. They can take over controlling them for the action.
Right.
And then during the other thing, I don't think we've decided quite what we do. Maybe you would just passively hang out and watch. Or like maybe a third-person view of what's happening. While your friend plays a character, so you can see him talking or whatever.
Oh, that'd be cool.
But yeah, that's kind of the plan.
Wondering if there will be different difficulties in Squadron 42, easy, medium, hard, or if it's just going to be the Squadron 42 experience.
That's actually a good question. I don't know if we've made a decision on that yet. I mean, default, you would probably think, yeah, there'd be easy, medium, and hard. Can't remember if I even had that in Wing Commander. It's been so long ago. Maybe I did. I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, that's actually fairly simple for us to adjust because it's the AI is going to. I mean, ultimately, if we had the AI on like made it like the hard AI, then it would be hard for most people to beat it. So we may very well do that. I haven't sort of made the choice yet, although there is something to be said for like not making anything too easy. So you actually have to achieve your victory. So we'll probably maybe have some modes, but nothing will be like too easy.
Wolfmix would like to know about penalties for
not doing Squadron 42 versus benefit when you're starting out in the universe. Is it going to be something everybody wants to do, or is it entirely optional?
Entirely optional, but I think you would have to earn your citizenship a different way if you wanted citizenship. I think you would, you would obviously miss out on learning some of the way to use things or ship systems, but you can probably figure that out yourself anyway. I think that you'll miss some potential connections later on. So you'll make some connections in Squadron 42 that could help you in the persistent universe. Go look up this person; they'll give you some jobs, or go over here. They'll give you they'll tweak your laser guns to plus to be more effective. But they only do it for XVets or whatever it would be. But you won't be handicapped by not playing Squadron 42. It should be completely elective. It's just you will have different routes in the persistent universe to achieve the same ultimate status that you would have done by playing Squadron 42. But Squadron 42 is going to be fun. I mean, the way I view it is, it absolutely could be a standalone, full-price AAA game, just Squadron 42, and then you've got the persistent universe added onto it.
Wondering about character customization in Squadron 42. Are you going to create your character at the start of the campaign, or is everybody going to be the same, square-jawed?
Nope. You got to create your character. We've actually got a really cool way to do it that's completely in fiction. It will work, and it'll also pay off later in the persistent universe if you want to change. So don't necessarily want to reveal too much of it, but anyway, I'm quite happy with it. I feel like it's completely in fiction. You can completely buy it, and it will be cool. So you can be
a man or a woman. You can choose how you want.
I have a lot of folks wondering when we're going to see our female character.
We are actively working on that. So we have a 3D female character, although we're now shifting our technology to full body scanning. So we're doing facial and full body. I mean, we hit a stretch goal. Well, I guess it was quite a while ago. It's amazing just how quickly stuff has gone. Where we're doing facial scanning, but we're also going to be doing full body scanning. And so we're shifting to that now to sort of up the level of fidelity on the characters and the faces. So, like the face that you've seen so far in our stuff is that's not like that's a 3 compared to what we're going to be doing. We may not show the current model female because we're going to actually do a proper body scan for a female, which is up and coming. Actually, I think we're going to scan by the end of this year. So that should be all pretty good. But yeah, we're definitely focused on having our female and as well as the base male for people in the game.
Let's see. One user wants to make sure that we know he'd like to keep his sidearm after Squadron 42. Let's see. Friendly fire. Will there be friendly fire in Squadron 42?
That's a good question. I'm kind of inclined to say yes. Because friendly fire is always fun. I think Maniac always used to generate a lot of friendly fire back in the original Wing Commander. No, I would say probably yes.
So I think your wing went
carefully if you're doing the co-op mode. Let's see. Is there going to be a medal on ranking system?
So what was that, Ben? A medal ranking system, you said?
Medal ranking.
Like the original Wing Commander.
Yeah, no, we're definitely, I think, going to give you medals and awards. I mean, I would say sort of the Wing Commander as a model is the best. We're trying to like build it in such a way that, like, for instance, like some of the later wing commanders, because we filmed all the stuff, we would keep wingmen around for story points, but this one we're trying to make more flexible. So you could finish the story, and without the original wing commander, you could finish with all the wingmen being dead, or you could finish with all the wingmen still living, and we're sort of more in that direction than we are in the wing 3 or the wing 4 direction.
Sounds good. I'm personally looking forward to that. Number of flyable ships in Squadron 42. Has there been a decision yet, can we say, or to come?
I don't think we've figured how many. What have you got so far on the outline?
At least 6 in some capacity or another.
There are at least 6 in some capacity or another.
Yeah.
Potentially more.
Yeah.
So fighters, bombers, probably transport.
Ops, like special ops.
Special ops one. So.
Yeah. Cap ships.
Cap ship.
I'd like to know if all the dialogue in the game will be voiced.
Yeah, in Squadron 42, everything's going to be voiced.
And most of it, most of the
performance hero capture too.
So think, if you've seen Rise,
think that level or better.
Question for I guess both Dave and Chris. Fiction influences for you in planning the story for Squadron 42. What inspires you?
I actually watched a lot of World War II movies.
World War II. I mean, we were also going. I mean, I think Gladiator.
Right, that's come up a lot.
Is a big inspiration because we're taking the lead from sort of the Roman Empire, even though we're way in the future. So the Ninth Legion. So it's a little element of Gladiator, the Ninth Legion, World War II stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I actually reread
Apocalypse Now.
Apocalypse Now.
So.
I reread Generation Kill last week as part of the preparation for it, just because of like the personal dynamics between the guys. Firefly, of course. Cowboy Bebop. Always good ones to go back to.
Yeah. Although I would say Firefly and Cowboy Bebop from more of the persistent universe.
Yeah. But they're always fun.
But they're always fun. Yeah, but I think we're trying for something pretty epic in the story. So I'm actually, I think people are gonna like it. That's my opinion. So we start really big, and then we kind of go from there. So.
Yeah.
Flies with Scissors would like to know if there's going to be humor in Squadron 42.
Yeah, I mean, I think even even serious films, the best ones work well with Aliens is a great example, right? That's a pretty intense movie, but it has great moments of humor, mostly involving Bill Paxton.
I think Hudson is one of the best characters in that movie because he's really funny.
Yeah. Game over, man. Game over.
One user concerned that all the voices might be British. Yeah. Clarify that one.
No, only the
guys will be British. No, just no. We're gonna it's gonna basically get cast like you would a big movie. So potentially there could be some British actors. There'll also be American actors. It should actually feel. Like that. One of the things with the Wing Commanders was that I deliberately tried to make it multicultural because it was the future. So you figured that all the different nations and races that we have now would basically all be fighting together for the Confederation, and that's no different, I think, than the UAE. Is that it's definitely going to be multicultural, and in fact, I would guess that the future will be much more of a melting pot than it is even today, because as time goes on, who's going to care what country you were from on Earth? I mean, you have all these different planets, and so
planetary identification more than.
Yeah, so I think you'll be kind of like you'll be sort of everybody would be essentially some level of mixed, right? It's like now in America you probably go back to people's genealogy and they're a little bit of Irish, a little bit of American Indian, they're a little bit of this, a little bit of that. If you actually went all the way into it, and I think in the future you're going to have more of that because because that's just the nature of the expansion and the beast. So we're gonna sort of do that. So it won't all be English accents. It is orchestral time. Okay, we have a new video for you, and I think on the other side we're going to have Martin and Pedro for you guys to talk to. So let's roll it. Nice talking to you guys. I'll be talking to you pretty soon on the other side.
My name is Martin Galway. I'm the audio director on Star Citizen. Now, we just finished the first of our orchestral recording sessions, and of course that's to satisfy the stretch goal that we reached back in November of 2012. And it was actually quite a surprise for us back in those days, because we just set that as some far off achievement goal, orchestral session, we'll never have that, but maybe off in the future. What actually happened was, on the last day of the fundraising month, that's when we hit the goal of $6 million. Pedro Camacho has been a part of the Star Citizen team a lot longer than anybody realizes. Pedro was inspired by this demo on October the 10th, from the videos to Chris flying around and his talk, about what Star Citizen was going to turn out to be.
Just to hear Chris Roberts' name, for me, was enough. Whatever he was doing, he was back in games, it had to be huge and excellent. I was a huge Wing Commander fan.
Pedro Camacho was a Portuguese composer who divides his time between games, television, theatre and real performance music, like his famous Requiem to Inés de Castro. Pedro has already composed for over a dozen games, but I think Star Citizen is his biggest project so far. And Pedro immediately started composing and came up with more or less a 2 or 3 minute demo of what would become the Star Citizen theme, and he sent that to Chris, and Chris really liked it. And Pedro also helped us on the 3 commercials that we put out so far, the Hornet, the Aurora, and the 300i, which, the music all sounds incredibly different in each one, but it's all done by Pedro. And Pedro is basically the composer on Star Citizen now. It seems weird to be recording the orchestra so far ahead of the final release of the game. Most game projects, they wait until the last minute so that they know exactly what the tune list is and how long every tune is supposed to be and all that kind of stuff. And in our case, we're releasing Star Citizen in a series of vertical slices. So we're recording the subset of tunes for Space Battle in this first session. The process of creating the music starts with the initial asset list of what tunes we're going to need. And for Space Combat, Chris and I basically went back to the old Wing Commander template and said, we're going to need a tune for this part, a tune for this part. The music's going to vary according to how much damage you've got and things like that. And so it's fully interactive. And once it's broken down into individual clips of, a minimum length, let's say, then we can approach someone like Pedro and say, how long is it going to take to compose all this?
So once I receive direction from Chris and Martin, I'll make a sketch in MIDI and they respond if it's too fast or too slow. Then we go from there and then try to implement that track in the game. So my MIDI workstation has all the notes from each instrument in the orchestra individually sampled. So when I combine them together, they actually resemble very closely what a real orchestra will sound like.
There's the creation of the initial music, if it's a theme or a texture. Then you have the orchestration, which is the adaptation for the large group of players.
Composing is like making a black and white drawing, and orchestrating is like coloring that drawing. That's why I always orchestrate what I do, because I want to be sure that in the orchestra session I hear the colors I had in my mind.
So for Star Citizen, all the music you hear, every note, comes from Pedro. When the time came to find an orchestra to actually play all these parts, we asked Pedro, what do you think? And he said, Well, I really have a good feeling about this group in the Czech Republic called the Kapellan Orchestra, headed up by Petr Pololjanek. They are a freelance group of players, mostly concertmasters and the principal soloists, you know, from different orchestras that get together to play these great scores for film trailers and video games. And these musicians have never seen this music before. They're not sent anything ahead of time. It's the first time they've ever seen it. And they're such good readers of music that they can do a good take almost from the first few minutes. The orchestral session is about 4 hours long, and it can be any time of the day, whatever we have booked. In the case of our recent session, it was in the evening from 8 p.m. to midnight. And the orchestra players all came in, you know, by themselves from different places, assembled and sat down, opened their cases. And they would start to play immediately, and they see the first page of the score, they get going, they play the very first take, all 75 musicians going at once. It's quite possible that there'll be a perfect take right from the get-go. They need to warm up a little bit, but you always record from the get-go in case there's a great take. The very first piece of music that Pedro submitted was the Star Citizen theme. And when we have a theme, we basically encapsulate an entity and all of its good sides and bad sides and details into one piece of music. And so we can say, when we're playing this piece of music, you think of this entity. Whether it's a person, a landscape, a planet, a nebula, you know, dangerous environment, or, you know, just the entire franchise.
There are several key themes that will be used throughout all the composition of Star Citizen soundtrack. These themes will be readapted to give a more adventurous or a more sad feeling to a certain moment of the game. For example, Star Citizen's main theme will be reused many times during Squadron 42 storyline in the most important key moments of your adventure.
Our game is no different from a regular film recording session in that it's a bunch of takes. When you play a music CD of the score of a film or a game, and each track sounds like it's complete, it's actually several takes spliced together with a lot of editing skill. And we have engineers that listen to the orchestra as it's playing and make little paper check notes and that kind of stuff as the performance is going through. And if they ever hear a dull note or something that could be improved on, they make a note. The rule of thumb is that you get between 5 and 7 minutes of final music end to end from each 4-hour block, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's 5 to 7 minutes of perfect music. And so you need more than one session to get an entire game done, and even our dogfighting module has about 15 minutes of music, and I'm looking forward to that. This is always one of the most fun parts of the job for me. It's not just artists and designers. You get a violin player working in the game. It's a great thing.
All right. You're on yet? No.
Not yet.
Eye on it? Yep. Okay, so hey guys, a couple of things. One, we'll have a $32 million letter later on as soon as I can get out of the conference room and Ben can get out of the conference room, so probably after the live stream's over. We have Martin Galway online Skype here. You just saw the orchestral up. Yes, show. Yes, accept, please. There we go. And Pedro. Hey, Pedro. How you doing?
Hey. Hi, Pedro.
You just you heard and saw some of Pedro's work. And we thought it'd be kind of fun for the community to ask Pedro and ask Martin questions about music and sound in Star Citizen. So over to you. I'll just listen here.
How are we getting the questions? Are we getting them from Ben?
Ben, yes. That's it.
Yep, I can. Question for you guys. If you want to ask some questions about the music on the chat roll, we will ask Martin and Pedro. Wondering if it will have AMD True Audio support.
I'll take that one. That's a yes. Chris committed to that at the AMD event, so yes.
All right. What's your inspiration for the music you've done so far? Squadron 42 and Star Citizen.
Yeah. Well, it's Chris and Chris Roberts because of all his lifetime work, and of course the game itself, which is absolutely amazing. I want to play it. I can't wait to play it. You know, can't wait.
Wondering if Pedro does music besides classical pieces.
Yes, I do. I do music for TV work, for other video games, and some film as well. So yeah, I do. Even though games are probably my games and concerts are my biggest passions, perhaps. Yeah.
Hey, so also one thing, Pedro, I think on the previous question, I'm guessing that they're probably wondering what,
say, film music or music in general, like, was inspirational for you outside of like the game itself, in terms of thinking of the music you were composing for Star Citizen.
So you want to maybe speak to that?
Okay, other inspirations besides, there was a movie I really enjoyed a long time ago, which was The Last Starfighter. That was a movie that really touched me because it was a kid that wanted to be in the stars, and through a video game in the movie, he was selected to be the last starfighter, and so that movie really touched me. I really loved it, and Star Citizen is kind of like that. It reminds me of that movie. Of course, there are other movies that really inspire me, like Super 8, like Star Trek. Of course, that's I think that's everyone always have that inspiration as well. So maybe those are my biggest inspirations. So like classic, old sci-fi movies, perhaps, and I think those were my biggest inspirations. Yes.
The chat folks went crazy when you mentioned The Last Starfighter. Apparently, our fans are also very into that movie.
Oh, yeah, I saw it like at least 7 times. So, yeah, it was great. You've been selected by the I forgot it, Corhan Armada, something like that. It's great.
Wondering if there will be dynamic music in the game. Will it react to what you're doing in the cockpit?
Yes. We are borrowing, like I said in the video, borrowing from techniques that we used in Wing Commander and Freelancer and things like that to bring adaptive music that changes in intensity, reflects the fact that you've got damage, or if emotionally things are going well, we will use more hopeful or positive music, and if things are grim, even if your ship's in great shape but the battle is nearly lost, we'll have music that reflects that.
There should be a small number of people, vocal, however, who are wondering why we have sound in space at all. Can we address that part?
Let me at him. Okay, look. This is the answer. Look, alright, look. It's a game, and even though there is no sound in space, there's sound in some parts of space. If you're in a fine dust cloud, you will get some sound propagated that way, but most of the time there's no sound. We're going to have sound because that's a great way to convey the action, because you can only see out the front of the ship. Even with Oculus Vision, you can only see in one direction. See, that's my animation right there. Sound's going to convey to you what's going on behind you. I mean, I'm not sure what these players want. The ones who want no sound in space, they're only going to see in one direction. They're not going to really be able to play very well. Right?
Yeah, well, the other thing there's a certain amount, obviously, like in Star Citizen Squadron 42. I mean, there's dramatic license, right? So, really the future of space combat and what would happen would be, it would all be drones. You wouldn't have humans be doing it because we can't tolerate the forces you would have in the bodies, and it's a whole bunch of other reasons. So we're sort of going for a sort of, it's almost a science fantasy, right? So Star Wars could be deemed as a science fantasy. Battlestar Galactica could be deemed as a science fantasy. So it's sort of taking some things that we know from, history, our past, and sort of putting it into the future. And so, yeah, you kind of think that you want to have sounds. And but even I would say Gravity, which is a pretty accurate film in terms of space. I mean, there is sound in that. I mean, when you're in your suit, there's definitely sound because there's oxygen around. It propagates. When you're in a space station, there's sound. So they actually did a pretty nice job of that. And there has definitely been talk that potentially you would, maybe in the future, just like like if you have a digital SLR now, well, they don't have an actual shutter, but guess what? When you press the button, it makes the shutter sound, because that's what people are used to, and it's actual audio feedback for why they're taking a picture. And the same, people are like, electric cars are now like having a muffler sound on some of them, so you can actually hear them, because otherwise you couldn't hear them. So who's to say in the future that you wouldn't necessarily simulate a level of sound for a pilot in a cockpit so he could have spatial awareness, which is to sort of what Martin's talking about. So that's definitely there, although who knows, for the purists, for the fun of it, we may have a turn the sound off check mark that could sound when you're actually out in the exterior, could be silent or whatever. We haven't we may provide that as an option just for the people that really want to be pure about it, but as I've said, there would be, you could definitely see some ways in the future where people would, even essentially fake the sound for spatial awareness reasons. But back to Ben.
All right. Anti-X would like to know, Pedro, how do you get started writing a piece of music? Do you just pick a note and go from there, or what's your process?
I really have no clue. I'm being as honest as possible. I really have absolutely no clue. I'm actually a very visual composer, but when I see an image that inspires me, I just get fired with ideas. Like, I have to eliminate them and just pick one I want the best at the time. Without seeing anything, it's gonna. So basically, Star Citizen looks so good. So when I see any image, I just get like a bunch of ideas, like very fast. That's at least. Of course, then there is the time to produce it and orchestrate. That's a technique part. It's not all inspiration. There is a lot of technique, a lot of study you need to have to make it actually sound like a music. But I think he's mentioning like the start, like the ignition of a new piece, and that part is just like I have to eliminate by basically the ideas. So that's it. Hope it answered.
All right, I've got a question here from Michael Nightingale, who has not missed the live stream yet. He's helping us out, wrangling folks in Austin. This is for Martin. Are there going to be musical pieces that have non-standard timings, like 3/3 or 5/4?
We'll work that one out with Pedro over the course. We may try that for some of the alien races. It doesn't jump out as something we've got. Certainly not something we've got in the plan right now. But it's something that we could try because it's very alien. It's unexpected. It gives that unsettling feel that we as humans, we're the human players of Star Citizen. There are no Xi'an players of Star Citizen who would think that the Xi'an stuff is all totally normal. We see those guys as aliens, and so we might want to use some unnatural sounding music tempos, right, Pedro? What do you think?
Yeah, I basically agree with you. Yes, I agree with your opinion on that. Nothing further bad.
Pedro and I are on the same page when it comes to that.
Have a lot of people asking about other types of music, rock, jazz. Are we going to see anything like that in Star Citizen?
In fact, if I might extend to the question, a lot of people have asked me about what music's going on in the bars and on the planets, in these places you walk in. It's not score, it's not like a storyline, it's like what kind of ambient music plays in the places. Over to you, Pedro.
Yeah, well, I really do have tons of ideas in that side, which I think we will all discuss as a team. But I believe I'm not. This is my. I like those games that when you go to a bar, all the music you hear is just, like a futuristic techno. That's okay. But I believe that in the future, you will also want to hear some jazz, some classic tunes, some 80s, actual current 80s tunes. I don't know.
1980s, that is, not 2080s, right?
Yes, 1980. So like old school bars, and of course I think there should be like modern of the time in Star Citizen, like modern music of the period we are living. And there, I think there should. I believe that there will be a bit of everything. But of course, this is something that we are still discussing as a team, and to see what's the best option on that aspect.
Right.
Wondering how many scores the game will have.
I'm just making the
Do
same
you, Martin?
I'm going to make a rough guess. Hey, Chris, do we have we said how many planets are in the game? Is it 700, something like that?
Currently, we have about 55 star systems and about 400 different environments that you can land on. And it may be more. I mean, now that we've gotten more, we're not really finite. We're going to constantly be adding stuff. So we're still getting the pipeline up for building the environments and everything. But that quite potentially could be bigger because we're looking at some hybrid sort of built and procedural stuff, so it'll allow us to sort of flesh out a larger degree of areas. But you certainly you will certainly be in that range. I don't think you need 450 themes. But you're certainly going to have different kinds of places: big cities, small cities, outposts, mining colonies, Jean, Banu, human, Vandal.
Yeah, and we'll start off by categorizing them
into large groups.
Yeah, I think it's just going to.
It's this whole. The whole Star Citizen is just going to be an ongoing content job. I tell people that start on it, it's like, no, you're not. This isn't like you're on a game and it's for just 2 years and you're shipping this thing. It's like, basically, if you want to make Star Citizen your career, you can do. You could be, happily composing in 10 years' time new music for Star Citizen. It's not particularly finite. It's sort of an ongoing process, which is both kind of exciting and scary at the same time.
Right. So to answer the original question, we're going to start off by categorizing the entire Star Citizen universe into big areas, like all desert planets and all, certain alien planets and that kind of thing, and each one will get their own theme, or entry music and landing music and the other kinds of events that we're going to use. And then as we want to dress up, it's like set dressing with music. We're going to dress up the set with specific pieces of music on specific planets. If they have a specific piece of content on there, like a pirate boss lives on a planet, and whenever you go there, you see that pirate boss. So we may use a particular piece of music on that planet. Then you've got the interactive parts of the music for battles and the Squadron 42 scores, which are also divided into 2 bits. So the interactive things and all the passive moments, like when you're watching scenes in the story. I assume there's going to be, storyline scenes that you go through that'll have music in the background. So we're going to score all of that. We may start with generic pieces of score, kind of like if you ever watch soap operas, they start off with a library of about 20 pieces of music and they just pick one to play in the background. We may start with that kind of technique for our Squadron 42 stories, but then add specific pieces of music for the specific scenes as we go on. Hope I didn't say specific too many times in that answer.
Can you give us more specifics?
Can you be more specific?
People were asking about a radio system like GTA. Is that something we can see in Star Citizen?
I get that question a lot, and I constantly bounce it over to the design people, because really it's a design question. Honestly, since Chris is in the room, he might want to wax lyrical on that. What do you think, Chris?
Well, we're definitely looking and considering like a jukebox system whereby, like, for instance, you're in your hangar or maybe even your ship. It can play music you have on your computer, like in your iTunes library or whatever, just as a feature. In terms of radio and broadcasts, we're definitely planning on having like sort of news broadcasts and pro radio broadcasts. that would be sort of in fiction though, right? So I'm not sure we're going to go to the GTA 5 thing where they've actually licensed a bunch of contemporary music and it's playing over the radios. Super cool, but it sort of feels like it would be a bit anachronistic for what we're doing in Star Citizen. But definitely, we have things like one-shot shipping news and all that sort of stuff. So the long-term plan for Star Citizen is to take a lot of the stuff, say, that Dave Haddock has been writing and you see sort of in written post, and move them to audio or even full video production, where it's all about immersing you in the world. It's all about, so like, my long-term goal would be, you would be flying around, or you'd be walking into a bar, and like maybe you'd be hearing a podcast, or you'd be watching a news item, and that show would literally be discussing events that were happening in the universe, right? So you would have, we would be recording, our content team here would be like looking at what was happening in the universe, and the one-shot shipping news, whoever the actor playing that would write a script for him that would be based on something that we saw happening in the universe the day before or 2 days before, and it'd be like, okay, it looks like, in the Vegas sector there's increased pirate activity and that kind of stuff. It'd just be kind of cool. So we'll definitely have a level of that, and probably allow you to sort of play your own playlist or whatever, but probably won't have necessarily like popular bands playing music from today over our radio, because like I said, it doesn't really fit the sci-fi setting. But that's not to say we wouldn't occasionally sort of come up with some sci-fi, whatever, like think of it like dubstep or Daft Punk or something. We come up with whatever our futuristic like music would be, and we would occasionally have that playing over the radio or something, because that could be kind of cool and immersive.
Chris, hey, so a lot of people have asked me about this. We don't have to make a decision on it right now, but players want to create their own radio stations with whatever programming they produce, and it could be a 24-hour stream. And we could potentially integrate that into our game and play the basically amateur streams, but they're in fiction radio broadcasts. Does that seem something you want to do?
Yeah, no, I think that'd be really cool. I mean, I think that would probably
be sort of quite easily supported with the system that I'm talking about anyway, because you're basically just plugging into sort of audio streams. But yeah, that would definitely be cool. I mean, that's part of the idea. Part of the idea would be that, yes, we're guiding the world and we're sort of designing on a big scale, but a lot of the content and the drama, like what's happening, is coming from the players. So, that's great. I mean, like the stuff that the community's done so far is amazing, just the level of videos and care and all the stuff they put into it. And I definitely think that would be, people could have, whatever, they, maybe you buy a license to have your own like radio broadcast station, and, instead of selling owning a store to sell stuff, that's what you do. I don't know. I mean, it could be pretty cool.
Radio DJ.
A radio DJ. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm constantly amazed that in something like Star Citizen, people are really focused on all this huge variety of roles, right? I tend to be a little sort of narrow-minded wing commander privateer. I just want to be, Luke Skywalker. I want to be Han Solo. But there's plenty of people that want to, they just want to they want to be the guy that goes out to fix people when they break down in space, or they would want to be a VJ, or whatever it would be. It's just it's amazing how people want to do so many different things, and so it's almost like just going to a different world and reality, and so I think the more we do to support that, especially when it's technically easy, is a good thing for the game.
Hey, let's get it back to a music question, since Pedro's sitting there falling asleep.
Yeah, I'm fine here. I'm fine. Don't worry.
Pedro, we've got a user who'd like to know if you use any granular synthesis in composing.
What do you mean by synthesis? Like a synthesizer itself, or?
I think electronics to simulate.
Yeah. I do use many synths. I'm a fan of many. I've worked with Rob Pappen a lot, like designing his, helping him in his synths. I think if people are asking that, so they probably know Predator, Blue, and his those are synths I really like. I really do like Zebra from UHE, Zebra and Diva a little bit as well, but I like Zebra a lot. Massive from Native Instruments is great. And of course, there's also the Moogs, which I really, Moogly Little Fatty, it's a synthesizer. I really love the sound of it. We still since right now we're focusing on the score of Squadron 42 and what we have in mind, at least for now, it's more like the classic sci-fi sound in that. So we want it to be like a cinematic experience. We don't want it to be like too experimental. We want people to play the Squadron 42 storyline and feel like, oh, this reminds me of things from that we lived in the past 10 years or 20 years. So Squadron 42 has a more classy sci-fi scoring than more accessible, more heartwarming music to me. I'm not saying that synthesizers are not heartwarming, which are to me, but maybe they're not for the majority of people. I think almost everyone loves hearing a beautiful string section playing a theme with a lot of expression, and it will fit perfectly in a sci-fi score, in my opinion. Then there will be, of course, as we spoke before, with all the different landscapes and planets and things like that, we will progressively integrate synthesizers. The main theme already has some synthesizers in there, and in the more more strange planets, if I may say so, we might go more experimental in terms of music. It's like as Chris said, it's like an ongoing experience during time, and we will build a game with all of us, literally with all of us, all the team and every player. So let's see what the future is holding for us.
I'm also wondering if there will be non-orchestral ambient music in space.
Yes,
non-orchestral.
If we right now we are focusing on the orchestral score, but I always say something about music, which is for me there are only two kinds of music, which is good and bad music. I try to make the good music, but now what defines good music is just good writing. It doesn't have to be with orchestra. Orchestra I love orchestra personally, but it doesn't have to be always orchestra. There might be some corners of the galaxy where the orchestra will not fit at all, but as I said, it's with time I think we will discover in which ways we should use orchestra or not. I believe. I don't know.
So yeah, I mean there was even
piece that we haven't shared yet, but there was some exploration of kind of like almost a mood in a nebula that you did a while ago, Pedro, and that was pretty much all. It was all synth, and it was sort of felt appropriately synth, right? Which is the sort of stuff you couldn't necessarily do on with orchestral. So I would say that. Well, I was just saying that. I mean, I would just say that we use a combination of even when the orchestral stuff, you still have some synth elements because there's a sound with a certain synth sound that you don't get with an orchestral instrument. So we combine those, and some places it may be mostly orchestral, and some places it may be more synth, and we may have some places where it just could be sort of a soundscape versus necessarily something that's melodic. So I guess the answer would be yes.
Great. This might be our final question, I think, coming up. All right.
Wondering if there will be a choir used.
Yes, of course. There will be a choir. The main theme already has a choir.
There was your requiem that you did was pretty beautiful with the choir.
I am personally. I believe that there is no best instrument as the human voice. It's the best instrument that exists. Also, it's more. I think it's the hardest one to actually score well without always being the traditional staccato, like there are many ways to use the voice. Like there are so many ways to use the voice. If you hear many modern classical composers like Luciano Berio and or even far in back in history, composers like Ockeghem or Josquin des Prés, and you'll hear just so many ways to use the choir. And I hope that the main team already has a choir, but I hope that we will explore the human voice, and perhaps sometimes disguising in a way that no one will ever tell it's the human voice. And I think I like to do that.
We should warn Pedro that before he goes to bed, our fans crashed his site. Our fans crashed his site.
Apparently, in the tradition of Star Citizen, our fans have now crashed your site because they've all going there to check it out.
My God. On my side.
To be proud.
Cool. So
that's why I was not able to upload anything. I was trying to upload and I couldn't. Like, oh my God, what? Never mind. Sorry. Well, yeah, crash. Don't worry. That means I must change my server. I thought I had a dedicated server. Guess I don't have it after all.
Star Citizen, you need more than one. You need a whole load balancing server to distribute to sub servers and everything. It's yeah.
Well, we can visit YouTube. YouTube.
Ben, you got
one more. I think we're coming close to the next section, so let's take one more.
Instruments will be used in the music. But what instruments will be used in the music we recorded so far? Is it primarily brass, or strings, or what?
Well, I am personally a fan of woodwinds and strings, but of course, the horns, and the brass family of an orchestra, by tradition, came from the hunters. So it's impossible to make a track that you want to have some heroic or some military feeling, that you completely remove the brass. You can if you use some synthesizers instead of brass and things like that, but there is a necessity for that. But what I really would like to use in my music is to always feature the colors of the woodwinds. Many times we neglect that family of the orchestra. So I hope people enjoy that color, and it makes a difference for them.